you ever felt like the week just ran you instead of the other way around? Like you're constantly chasing time, jumping from task to task, mind all over the place, and no matter how hard you try, it never really feels like you're in control. You're not alone. Most people live like that, not because they want to, but because they've never built the habits that create real structure, real peace, and real momentum. The Stoics knew something we often forget. Chaos outside doesn't have to mean chaos inside. Seneca said that without direction, life becomes a storm. Epictetus believed we must train ourselves daily, not once, but constantly, if we want to live well. These weren't just ideas. They were practices, repeated actions that shaped character, resilience, and clarity. That's what this video is about. 7 Stoic-inspired habits, simple but powerful, that can help you stop reacting and start leading. Habits that don't just organize your day, but sharpen your focus, strengthen your mindset, and anchor you in what truly matters. These aren't tricks, they're tools, practical, grounded, and time-tested. So if you've been feeling scattered, stuck, or just tired of the noise, you're in the right place. And if you appreciate what we're building here, here's a small, free way to support it. Hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Let's begin. Day 1. Win the morning early. Let's be real, most people don't even start their day, they just react to it. The alarm rings. They hit snooze, maybe once, maybe 3 times. Then the scramble begins, checking notifications before their eyes are even fully open, rushing through routines, skipping breakfast, or mindlessly eating while scrolling. From the moment they wake up, they're behind. The day dictates their pace, their focus, their energy, not the other way around. But here's the shift. Your morning is your anchor. It's the one part of the day that still belongs to you before the noise takes over. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome and a true Stoic, used to write in his meditations about this exact struggle. He'd remind himself, "You were born to do things, not to lie under warm blankets." That wasn't just tough talk. That was a call to rise and lead, starting with himself. You don't need to transform into a 5 a.m. warrior overnight. That's not the point. What matters is the intention behind your wake-up. What are you doing with that first hour? Are you giving your mind space to breathe? Or are you feeding it chaos before it's even had a chance to settle? Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." That's the power of the morning. You're not just getting out of bed, you're waking up to yourself. When the world is still quiet, your thoughts are clearer. You're not on defense, you're not reacting, you're designing. And let's not forget Aristotle, who believed that excellence is not an act, but a habit. You don't become disciplined by thinking about it. You become disciplined by showing up again and again, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That's how self-respect is built. That's how momentum is created. So here's something simple. Start waking up just 30 minutes earlier than usual. That's it. No huge life overhaul, no perfect morning routine with color-coded planners. Just 30 extra minutes. And in that time, do one thing, one that truly matters to you. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's stretching, maybe it's sitting with your thoughts in silence, but make it intentional, make it yours. Because once you take ownership of your morning, the rest of your day can't push you around as easily. You've already won the first battle. And that quiet victory carries over into how you speak, how you think, how you show up. Plato believed that the first and best victory is to conquer self. The morning is where that battle begins. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present and consistent. Your morning isn't just a time of day, it's a mindset, a chance to lead your life instead of being dragged by it. Day 2. Train your body, train your mind. We live in our heads so much, we forget we live in our bodies. We chase productivity hacks, mindset shifts, mental clarity, like they exist in a vacuum. But here's the part nobody wants to hear. If your body is drained, tight, heavy, or neglected, your mind will follow. You can't think straight when your nervous system is fried. You can't focus when your body is aching. And you definitely can't lead your life if you feel like you're dragging it uphill. The Stoics understood this long before modern science ever confirmed it. Seneca didn't just write about resilience, he practiced it. Cold plunges, fasting, pushing the body to see how little he actually needed. Because for the Stoic, the body wasn't a separate thing, it was part of the training. Epictetus, born into slavery, walked with a limp, but still taught that we should treat the body rigorously, so it becomes obedient to the mind. That wasn't vanity, that was strategy. But somewhere along the way, we created this weird divide. We act like fitness is for athletes, like strength is reserved for the gym crowd. Meanwhile, our back hurts from sitting too long, our energy crashes mid-afternoon, and we wonder why we can't stay disciplined. The truth? Movement is mindset. When your blood's flowing, when your body feels alive, your thoughts do too. That's biology, that's psychology, that's ancient wisdom. Plato once said, "Lack of activity destroys the good condition of every human being." He wasn't talking about aesthetics, he was talking about the human spirit, the idea that stillness, too much of it, kills not just our strength, but our sense of agency. When you move, even just a little, you tap into power, you build momentum, you reconnect with the part of you that's still hungry. You don't need six-pack abs, you need to feel capable. That's it. Maybe it's a morning walk. Maybe it's lifting something heavier than usual. Maybe it's doing push-ups in your living room or stretching before bed. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you remind yourself, I can move. I can choose discomfort. I can push through resistance. Carl Jung once said, what you resist persists. If you keep resisting movement, if you keep putting it off, that tension builds. It becomes frustration, then fatigue, then inertia. But when you face it head-on, even with a short workout or a cold shower, you break that cycle. You turn resistance into strength, and that spills over into every other part of your life. Because when your body is strong, life hits different. Stress doesn't rattle you the same. You walk into a room with a bit more certainty. You're not just surviving, you're commanding your space. And that doesn't come from a motivational speech. It comes from sweat, from repetition, from showing up for your physical self. Socrates said, "No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable." That hits deep, because this isn't just about the body, it's about knowing what you're capable of, feeling that potential in your bones, not for applause, not for perfection, but because you can. Day 3. Put pen to paper. The mind's a noisy place. No pause button, no mute switch, just constant chatter. You're replaying a conversation from this morning, thinking about something someone said last week, planning dinner, doubting a decision you made, wondering what's next. And all of that is happening at the same time. If you feel overwhelmed, it's not because something's wrong with you. It's because your mind is full and there's nowhere for those thoughts to go. That's where journaling comes in. Not as some cute self-help trend, but as a real practice, a tool for clarity, a Stoic practice actually. Seneca wrote letters to a friend, but those letters were really notes to himself, reflections, self-checks. A daily pause to sort through the noise and get honest about what was going on inside. Because if you don't create space to think clearly, you'll just keep reacting to everything around you. Plato once said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." That doesn't mean you need to be dramatic about it. It means you should check in with yourself, and you don't need a leather-bound notebook or the perfect journaling method. You just need to begin. One sentence, one question. What am I thinking right now? That tiny moment of self-reflection, especially done consistently, builds something powerful. Over time, you start to see patterns. Maybe you're always anxious on Sundays. Maybe your energy dips after certain habits. Maybe you've been avoiding a decision that shows up in every entry. That's how self-awareness works. It sneaks in quietly through repetition. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's exactly what journaling helps with. It takes those hidden thoughts, those unspoken fears, those buried dreams, and puts them in front of you, on paper, where you can see them. Once they're visible, you can challenge them, shape them, choose differently. Think of your journal like a mirror, but instead of reflecting your face, it reflects your inner world, your values, your fears, your progress. And the beauty of that is, no one else needs to read it. No one needs to understand it. It's just for you. It's your space to be brutally honest or quietly hopeful, to question, to dream, to reflect. Aristotle believed that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And honestly, there's no faster way to start that journey than to write one honest line a day. Not a novel, not a life story, just one line. What did I learn today? What do I feel? What am I avoiding? It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. Picture this. A year from now, you stumble on that journal. You flip through those old pages, maybe messy, maybe scattered, and you see your own growth. The dots start connecting. You realize the things that once scared you now feel small. The thoughts that once held you back no longer have power. That's not just memory, that's evidence. And if you're thinking, "I'm not a writer," good. That means you won't try to impress anyone. This isn't about perfect grammar or deep poetry. It's about getting what's in your head out of it, so you can breathe a little easier. It's about organizing the chaos so you can find calm inside the storm. Socrates taught through dialogue. He believed in asking questions more than giving answers. Journaling is your dialogue with yourself. The more honest the questions, the better the answers. That's where clarity lives. Day 4. Do the thing you've been avoiding. Let's talk about something we all do, but rarely call out for what it really is: putting things off. Not because we're lazy, not because we're not capable, but because deep down, we know the task we're avoiding isn't just a task. It's a mirror. It reflects our discomfort, our fear of failure, our fear of change. That phone call you haven't made? It might lead to rejection. That email in your drafts? Maybe it pushes you into the next level of responsibility. That project you don't have time for. It might force you to face your potential and how long you've been running from it. This isn't about productivity hacks or to-do lists. It's about the quiet war happening between the part of you that wants to grow and the part that's scared to leave what's comfortable. Seneca, one of the sharpest minds of Stoicism, once wrote, "While we wait for life, life passes." Think about that. Every time we wait for the perfect moment, every time we say, "I'll get to it tomorrow," we're gambling with time we can't get back. Procrastination isn't just a delay, it's a denial. It's telling yourself, "I'll be brave later, I'll take control later." But as the Stoics remind us, later isn't guaranteed. Carl Jung touched on this too. He said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." That task you're avoiding, it doesn't stay neutral. It grows in your mind. It weighs more each day. It steals more energy, more focus, more confidence. And yet, the second you finally do it, the second you face it head on, it shrinks. It loses its grip. You realize the monster wasn't in the task. It was in the avoidance. Aristotle believed that courage is the first virtue because it makes all the others possible. And let's be clear, doing the thing you've been avoiding takes courage. Not dramatic movie scene courage, quiet courage. The kind where you sit down, open the laptop, or pick up the phone and just do it. Even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles, that's real bravery. You know what's funny? The moment you finish that task, the one you've been dreading, it doesn't just feel like relief. It feels like freedom. It's like unlocking a mental cage you forgot you were in. And the best part? That tiny win triggers momentum. You start believing in yourself again. You remember what you're capable of. Socrates once said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." That energy you've been wasting fighting the task, doubting yourself, overthinking. Imagine what happens when you channel it into action, into building, creating, moving forward. So here's your move. Pick one thing, not 5, not your whole list. Just the one task that's been haunting the corners of your mind. You already know what it is. Do it. Today. Not when the stars align. Not when your schedule opens up. Not when you feel ready. Do it because it's uncomfortable. That's the signal. That's where the growth is. Cross it off. Feel the shift. And when you do, don't just celebrate finishing the task. Celebrate the fact that you chose progress over fear. That's the kind of self-respect that builds momentum. That's the kind of action the Stoics would call virtuous. Day 5. Protect your sleep like a superpower. There's a quiet kind of exhaustion that creeps in when you've been running on empty for too long, but you've gotten used to it. You chalk up the brain fog to stress, the short fuse to a bad day, the lack of focus to too many tabs open on your browser. But what if the real problem isn't your to-do list? It's your sleep debt. Here's the part we tend to ignore. You can eat all the right foods, hit every workout, journal every morning, meditate at lunch, read every productivity book on the shelf. But if you're not sleeping well, your foundation is cracked. It doesn't matter how hard you train your body or sharpen your mind. Without rest, it all starts to unravel. Slowly at first, then all at once. The Stoics didn't have wearable trackers or blue light filters, but they understood rhythm, restoration, and balance. Seneca said, "The mind must be given relaxation. It will rise improved and sharper after a good break." That break he talked about? Today we'd call that sleep. Not indulgence, not laziness. Recovery. A sacred pause so you can show up at full power. We live in a culture that praises hustle and demonizes rest. Sleep has somehow become a badge of weakness instead of the elite performance tool it truly is. But here's a thought experiment. If you wouldn't let your phone drop below 10% battery without panic, why do you let yourself run on fumes every day? Carl Jung once wrote, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness." That's the rhythm of nature. Light, then dark. Effort, then rest. Sleep is not a detour from life. It's a crucial part of the cycle that makes a meaningful life possible. And it starts before your head hits the pillow. That's the part most people miss. Good sleep is built in the hours leading up to it. You don't just fall asleep. You transition. You arrive at rest. Slowly, intentionally. That means setting boundaries, closing the laptop, turning off the bright lights, ending the day with calm instead of chaos. Socrates believed that moderation and self-mastery were the highest forms of wisdom. That includes knowing when to stop, when to call it a day, when to admit, I'm not thinking clearly right now, I need rest. But too often we push through. We treat sleep like it's optional, something we'll catch up on later. But later never comes. And while we're being honest, scrolling yourself to sleep isn't helping. It's tricking your brain into staying alert while your body begs for peace. The truth is, you need a wind-down ritual, something gentle, something that says, it's safe to rest now. That might be a book, a warm shower, a few lines in a journal, or just sitting in silence. Anything that brings you down instead of keeping you wired. Aristotle once said, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. When you're well rested, you have that kind of control. You can observe your thoughts instead of being owned by them. You're not just reacting, you're responding. You're making conscious choices, not impulsive ones. That's the power of a rested mind. So tonight, do something different. Set a bedtime. Honor it. Shut down the noise early. Give your body what it's been quietly asking for. Not as a reward, but as preparation. Sleep like your clarity depends on it. Sleep like your discipline depends on it. Sleep like your next breakthrough is on the other side of 8 solid hours. Day 6. Expect the unexpected. There's something comforting about having a plan, a nice, neat to-do list, a schedule color-coded to perfection. But let's be honest, how often does the day actually go according to that plan? You wake up ready to crush it, and then someone flakes. Your laptop freezes, your kid gets sick. The traffic is worse than usual. Suddenly, your perfect day is spiraling, and in that moment, most people lose it. Not because the problem is so big, but because it caught them by surprise. That's where the Stoics come in with one of the most powerful mental tools ever created, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It's not about being negative, it's about being prepared. It's not expecting the worst. It's simply considering the possibility. So when life does punch you in the face, and it will, you're not shocked, you're ready. Epictetus said, "What would have become of Hercules, do you think, if there had been no lion, hydra, stag, or boar, and no savage criminals to rid the world of?" His point? Life's challenges are the training ground. They're not the interruption to your purpose, they are the purpose. You don't build strength in calm waters, you build it when the wind picks up and the waves crash. And that kind of resilience starts in the mind. You train it, just like you train your body for a race or a fight. You rehearse the potential setbacks, not to dwell on them, but to remove their power. You start thinking like a chess player, 3 moves ahead. Not because you want bad things to happen, but because when they do, you'll be the only one in the room who isn't rattled. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." What does that mean here? When we model avoidance, when we act shocked by every inconvenience, when we melt down at every bump in the road, we're not just stressing ourselves, we're teaching others, especially those watching us, that life is supposed to be easy. It's not. But that doesn't mean it has to be miserable either. With the right mindset, it can be empowering. Plato believed that wisdom begins in wonder, but wisdom also requires foresight, the ability to think beyond the now, to consider what might go wrong and prepare not just a backup plan, but a backup mindset, one that doesn't panic, one that doesn't spiral, one that calmly says, "I knew this was possible and I'm ready." Let's say you've got a big presentation tomorrow. Most people visualize nailing it, smooth delivery, nodding heads, applause. That's good, but a Stoic also visualizes the mic cutting out, the slides failing, someone challenging their idea. not to psych themselves out, but to build composure. That way, if something does go wrong, they don't freeze. They adapt. That's power. Socrates often challenged people to think through their assumptions, to look beneath the surface of their beliefs. If you assume life will be smooth, every setback feels like a betrayal. But if you accept that disorder is part of the design, you stop getting offended by it. You stop taking it personally. That shift is everything. So here's a simple challenge for today. Take 5 minutes, just 5. Think through tomorrow. What could go wrong? What might throw you off? Then ask yourself, how will I respond if that happens? Not react, respond. Because that's what preparation does. It gives you space between the event and your behavior. It gives you control. You can't predict everything, but you can predict that something won't go as planned. And when it doesn't, you'll be grounded, steady, unshaken. That's the Stoic edge. Not a life without chaos, but a mind that remains calm within it. Day 7. Remember you're going to die. There's a truth we all know but rarely look in the eye because it's uncomfortable, it's heavy, it makes us pause in a way few things do. We're not here forever, and that realization, it changes everything. Not in a morbid way, not in a what's the point way, but in a clear-eyed, no more wasting time way. When you remember that this life has a clock ticking, you start to see what actually matters and what never really did. The Stoics called this memento mori, remember you must die, not to scare themselves into sadness, but to sharpen their focus. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor and philosopher, wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't being dramatic. He was being deliberate, anchoring himself to the moment, letting death be the lens that brought life into clearer view. And he had a point. Most of what stresses us out, what weighs us down, what keeps us stuck in our heads, isn't really about the present moment. It's about the past we can't change, or a future we're trying to control. But death, when remembered wisely, pulls us back to now. It whispers, "This moment matters. You don't get it again. So feel it, say it, do something with it." Carl Jung once said, "A man who does not know death does not know life." That's the paradox. The more we avoid thinking about the end, the more numb we become to what's in front of us. But when we face it, really face it, we unlock something rare: presence, gratitude, urgency. Not the kind that panics, but the kind that prioritizes. You stop sweating the petty. You stop waiting for perfect timing. You stop holding grudges over things that don't matter in the big picture. Think about it. How many moments have you let slip because you assumed there'd be more? How many words went unsaid? How many people did you scroll past instead of reaching out to? When you realize those chances aren't infinite, something shifts. You become softer but braver, more grounded but bolder. Plato believed that philosophy was a preparation for death, and not in a grim way, but in a freeing one. Because when you understand your time is limited, you live more honestly. You stop playing roles. You start chasing what's real. You take risks. You speak truth. You love deeper. Picture this. You're tucking in someone you care about. You kiss them goodnight. And for a moment, you really feel the weight of that moment. That this right here might be the last time. Not because you're being negative, but because you're being present. And that presence fills your heart with more love than you knew it could hold. Socrates, on trial for his life, said, "Death may be the greatest of all human blessings." Why? Because it puts things in order. It removes the illusion that we have time to waste. And that's a gift. It nudges us to get to work, to stop putting off the dreams, to mend what's broken, to forgive, to show up fully and without apology. So here's your reminder and your challenge. Don't wait. Say what you've been meaning to say. Apologize if you need to, or speak your truth if you've been quiet for too long. Hug tighter, laugh louder, take that walk, make that call, write that message, start that project. Do it now, because tomorrow isn't promised. One day, all of this will be a memory, or it won't. But today, right now, you're here, breathing, thinking, choosing, and that's power. Don't let it slip away. If this spoke to you, there's another video waiting for you right here, something I think will hit just as deep. Go check it out. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal, where ancient wisdom meets everyday life. I'll see you back here soon. Stay grounded, stay present.